We will be back in just a minute. Hello, everyone. Just to confirm, can you see my screen? Okay. We are going to do a quick overview of financial model, which will last 10 to 15 minutes. We are going to focus on financial models. I will show you the template we have put together, which we will share with you. And the second thing we are going to do is also try to see when we are not building or creating a financial model, but rather analyzing a financial model, what levers you can use. And in the same vein, we have prepared a tool that will enable us to better analyze the financial model given to you by developers. This will be the two objectives of the following session. We are going to give you an overview of what a financial model looks like and what it is needed for. Without We are going also to use this model mainly for project financing. This model is considered as a decision-making tool and will be used to establish the viability of the project, to establish which are the key parameters, the key hypothesis, key assumption, not only in operational term, but also on the financial part, the schedule part, and etc., which will enable us to make these decisions and define whether or not a project is viable, whether or not we want to embark on the implementation of this project. As a result, we are mentioning here on the left that this is a tool that will bring together a huge number of hypotheses or assumptions. It can be defined as a black box into which we enter a huge number of assumptions plus a little more information on the project timing and our calendar. The model then establishes links between these hypotheses and a number of operational and financial variables in various spreadsheets, which I will present in the next video. The financial model will also produce operational and financial projection, etc. Based on these assumptions about the viability of the project, we will have projection over a given period of time. In general, we will observe this projection over the duration of the PPA, Power Purchase Agreement. We will have model for 20, 30 years and over and even beyond, which with operational and financial projection for the project in question. In the middle of the slide, you will see a spreadsheet of a dashboard, which is actually an output sheet for this model. It is a sheet that details all the key assumptions of this model. We have prepared one of these templates for you to use. I will show you how to use it to access the viability of the renewable energy project. The result of a financial model guides financial analysis and decision-making in all phases of a project. The financial model will inform project management, strategy, and budgeting decision. It can also be used to assess the impact of a certain decision on the project financial performance. It can also be used to establish scenario and analyze some of the key performance sensibilities of the project. Secondly, it is not just a decision-making tool, it is also a tool for interaction, enabling discussion with investors, informing them of a project financing requirement, reflecting the project economics and its ability to repay creditor in terms of both debt and equity. So it is a tool for facilitating negotiation and discussion with investors. This slide describes the black box that a financial model can be. It describes the different tools and aspects that come into play when thinking about a financial model. On the one end, it used to estimate all aspects of cash flow. We will fill in the project cost, the payment structure of these CapEx, and we will define all the economic data, for instance, rates and cash flow. The economic data includes everything linked to indexation as well as exchange rates over the life of the project. This will enable us to use cash flow projection to see how the project will react if there were exchange rate risk. The financial model will enable us to access debt capacity. The various debt coverage ratio will be determined and what the interest rate risk is. We can ask ourselves whether an interest rate of 10% is viable for the project or whether we need to negotiate a lower interest rate. What is the risk here? Focusing on equity investor, what is the return for all these investors? What is the return even on the scale of the project? How quickly will they recover their equity? On the right-hand side of the slide, the financial model focuses on sensitivity analysis. The idea being to identify the key factors involved in deciding whether or not to set up the project, such as tariff, interest rate, etc. Once we have identified these factors, we will be able to assess their impact on the project profitability. Once we have identified these different key factors, we will try to apply different types of scenario to them. If, for instance, the tariff is set cent of euro, how would the project react if the tariff were lower to 6 cents of euro? That's one scenario. If today interest rates are 10%, what will be the impact on the viability of the project if the interest rate rose to 12%? Once we have established our sensibilities to the key factor, we can look at scenarios that will analyze several factors at the same time. For instance, we might decide to do a scenario where the plant won't have a capacity of 100 megawatt, but rather 90 megawatt. What happens then? If we go to a 90 megawatt capacity, then on the CapEx side, we will have to make a few changes because the cost will be lower. And this will also have an impact on OPEX or operation and maintenance costs, etc. So the scenario don't just allow us to plan for the future, but also allow us to plan for the future. As a result, the scenario don't allow us to analyze the sensitivity of the project on the basis of certain key factors, but to define several factors, but we want to analyze at the same time for a given scenario. Finally, we have a summary of all the project key figures. Cash flow, period by period. Is the project net present value positive? Are the various lender coverage ratio attractive or not? What is the return on equity? Once we have combined all these tools and the information the financial model enables us to analyze, we can, and this is the ultimate goal, establish a certain financial structure that is optimized for the people or players around the table financing the project. For the equity providers, but also for all those who contribute subsidies and debt, or potentially any other off-taker involved in the project. And so we managed to have this optimized financing structure. When we have this optimized financing structure, it becomes a tool that has enabled us to make decisions on assumption and now enable us to move forward with a negotiation and discussion with the various players around the table. Thank you and see you at the next training session. Goodbye.